Good afternoon to you. You're listening to Youth Jam Radio for the drive home. I'm Isaac Mulcrone. Samuel Thomas-Holland is an opera singer who's done many great things and has been studying opera for quite some time. And he joins me in the studio this afternoon. G'day, Samuel.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. How are you going?
I'm very well. We're opening Macbeth with Western Australian Opera Company tonight.
Ooh.
Yes.
Where is that being performed?
The Majesty's Theatre. Well, His Majesty's Theatre.
Alright, so I want to get into where you started in music. Do you know exactly, what age you started in music?
Well, that would be way back in Darwin, actually, years ago, when my mother, as a music teacher, but now she does English as a second language for Asian students in Melbourne, and also different ethnicities as well. She basically heard me in the car singing when she was singing one of her arias when she was learning at the Darwin University years ago as well. And that basically skyrocketed her thinking, well, if he can sing just as good as me, why don't I try him out in the choir that I've got, sort of thing, yeah.
So you've been doing it for a while, I presume?
Definitely. Probably since 3 or 4 years old, yeah.
So what attracts you to singing?
I think it's just the genetics, but also at the same time the out-of-body experiences you can have, as well with singing high notes, of course.
I wish I could do that. That sounds absolutely incredible. In March 2015, you were accepted as a young artist into the Melbourne Opera Studio. In that time, you performed in concerts with the Melbourne Lawyers Orchestra, which included music by Mozart. What was it like to perform in that environment?
It was wonderful, yes. And then further on in that year, we also did the inaugural Nagambie Lakes Opera Festival, which then received world acclaim because we had a New York director called Luke Leonard, and he had directed a opera called The Difficulty of Crossing the Field, which dealt with issues of slavery and the disappearance and sort of the haunting Mississippi sort of vibes of voodoo, hoodoo, and so we all had to dress up in makeup and clothing of sort of 18th century, 17th century slaves in the US sort of thing, and it was quite a haunting opera, yeah.
So I read that you performed in South Africa and represented Australia. What was that like?
Yes, that was amazing, yeah. Went over and was definitely saw the poverty as well as the beauty of Africa, and unfortunately, I didn't get very far, but I saw the world standard of all the different opera singers in the world. But at the same time, then went on to a safari afterwards and got to see the big five of the animal population in Africa, and that was just remarkable, yeah. And then from that, people in Switzerland saw me for a Young Artist Festival, and I was accepted into that festival and did 2 months up in the Sigrisfield Mountains, and then we toured from there to Bern, Basel, and finished in Zurich.
So why are you in Perth?
Because I used to live in Perth, but also at the same time I'm trying to become more freelance. It gives you more avenue to have work as an opera singer, and at the same time I like a challenge. Actually saying this, I'm going back after Macbeth finished on the 26th of October to Melbourne for 2 weeks, and then heading up to Newcastle, New South Wales, to perform the role of Teridu in Mascagni's Cavaliera Rusticana with Opera Hunter.
What is the process like to get into Macbeth and other massive productions like that? Take us through it.
It was basically just an audition process, really. It was quite quirky because in June and July-ish sort of thing, I think it was more July, that I went to both Western Australia and New Zealand in 1 week for auditions, and through that audition for WA, Macbeth came out of that. Unfortunately, New Zealand don't need big dramatic voices yet because they're doing more smaller scale operas, but hopefully soon they'll need my voice. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll hear from Samuel Thomas-Holland a bit more after the break, including a live performance. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Youth Jam Radio Drive, back after the break. Here is Samuel Thomas-Holland performing Macduff's aria. Enjoy.
A phoenix quel tiranno tutti uccisi voi foste, e insieme con voi la madre svendurrata. Affroia figli dite tigre, io lascia la madre allar per terna mano non vi foscono cari, dai perfidi sicari e che vi farir, e ma fuggiasco occulto, voi chiamavate inferno, con l'ultimo singulto, con l'ultimo respir. Atrami e diranno in faccia, Signore, se mi sfugge, bossa con lui nei braccia de tuo, perdono aprir, bossa con lui nei braccia, bossa con lui nei braccia de tuo, perdono aprir, Signor, bossa con lui nei braccia, per tuo perdono aprir.
Wow. What a way to get me going on my Monday Drive show. Thank you very much, Samuel Thomas-Holland, everyone.
Thank you.
Wow, that's something I have not seen before. I can tell you that right now. Any gigs coming your way very soon?
The next performance is next Tuesday, the 22nd, and then the performance after that is the 24th, and we finish at His Majesty's for Macbeth on the 26th of October. And then after that, I go back to Melbourne for 2 weeks, and then prepare for Opera Hunter's production of Cavaliera Rusticana as the role of Toridu, the lead tenor.
Amazing. Well, Samuel, it's been a pleasure having you in the studio. Thank you for coming by. I'm just shocked at that voice. Absolutely incredible. Thank you very much, Samuel.
Thank you.
This is The Drive Home. You can text me in via Facebook, Instagram. I'd love to hear from you.